welcome to Schenectady Today. I'm Ann Pearl, your host, and thank you so much for joining us. We've got a great lineup today. I know I say that every week, but it's really true. I have Don Hyman. He's going to be performing for us today, and then we're going to be talking with a chiropractor about family chiropractics and also going back to school and what do we need to know about that. We're going to be talking with representatives from the Iroquois Museum over in Howes Cave. Oh my gosh, they've got such a great museum. You've got to go there and check it out. They're doing a special exhibition on walking on steel, and you'll hear all about that as well. We'll also be going to Schenectady County Public Library, where we'll be talking about their reading program for the summer. You can't believe the number of things that they have going on there for that, but then they're going to also have a big Comic Con, their third annual. We're going to hear all about that. And as a special treat, we have Shane Moore. He's an artist, and he'll be here to show some of his artwork, and we'll see some of it on the air. And then we're going to be talking with Rich Guthrie. Rich Guthrie is been on WAMC. He's an expert on birds. If you have a bird feeder in your back, and maybe you're not feeding those squirrels, but maybe you're feeding the blue jays and all the rest, we're going to find out more about what kind of food to put in there and what you can do to encourage more birds to come follow your example of getting good food out for the birds in the summer. Of course, they can certainly find a lot on their on the bird feeders and on the trees. Our breaks today are going to be the Ticonderoga because they are coming up with their King's Garden party, and I just wanted to give them a little extra plug because it's really an interesting place to go, and you might really enjoy it. But right now, I'm going to just say, take it away, Don, and he's going to be singing Tears on My Pillow? No.
I'm going to do Maybe by the Chantels.
Oh, he's changing this. Wait, I mean, this is what's good about doing a show like this. We can certainly change as we go along.
Let's go back to 1958 where we had some classic songs coming out of the Bronx, Manhattan, and Brooklyn by a bunch of teenagers like the Crest, the Chantels, and Little Anthony and the Imperials.
Okay, and you're going to be singing?
Maybe by Arlene Smith and the Chantels.
Right.
If I pray every night, you'll come back to me. And maybe if I hold your hand, you will understand. Oh, maybe. Maybe if I kiss your lips, you'll be at my command. And maybe if I hold your hand, you will understand. Oh, maybe. I hope and pray
Come back to me.
to send you back to me. But then
Come
I
back
realized it was only in my dream. Maybe if I pray every day, you'll come back to stay. And maybe if I hold your hand, you will understand. Oh, maybe, 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 baby. Can you say it one more time, girls? Maybe. I love this song. It's dedicated to Miss Arlene Smith, a wonderful lady who I had a chance to work with, a real teen queen from the 1950s, and a teacher from the Bronx retired. you, Arlene. I still love you. Oh, baby.
Woo! So, Don, you get to meet a few of these people, didn't you? In your whole expanse of your experiences.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for inviting me back here. Good to see everybody at Schenectady today. But Arlene Smith was very special to me because I love the Chantels from being a little kid listening to them on the radio. And a girl that I was a friend of mine, she was going to be in the a cappella contest. She'd won. And the Chantels were in the show, Johnny Maestro and the Crest, Sam and Dave, the Cleftones. So I was helping her with a wardrobe. She wanted the poodle skirt, the ponytail look.
Oh, yeah.
You okay?
That was a cool look.
And I got to be backstage hanging out. So I ran around like a little starstruck kid. And I walked into Arlene Smith's dressing room, and she's sitting there, and they're getting ready. And they're like, "Can you go get us some water? Can you get us some coffee?" And
so you were doing the.
They thought I was the valet, right? So I played along with it, and we went backstage, and Johnny Maestro and the Crest
you got
on.
to meet him
You get to
personally.
meet them. And a couple years later, she was at a DC 37 event, and I went and said hello. She thought I was there working again, so she called me to her dressing room, had me running around. She was a lady. And then 2 years later, she was at a show with Shirley Austin Reed of the Shirelles in the park, and she saw me at the show, and I went backstage, and she had me coming around, helping her out and everything like that. But at the time...
Did she give you a tip?
Yeah, she was a tip. She was the first girl group to sell 1 million records.
Yeah.
And they were at that time, she was telling me Mary Wilson of the Supremes was calling her every day because there was a tribute girl group stamp collection that was being put together, and they wanted her to be part of it. So it did come to fruition. I got to see it. But Arlene Smith, I know she's retired now as a teacher, but that maybe and the other songs they did, they set the precedence for all of the rock and roll girl groups. They were the first.
They were the pioneers.
They were the pioneers. They were the first to sell 1 million records with that song, Maybe.
Okay.
So
what are you going to stick next?
I'd like to do 16 Candles because I think one of the greatest singers in the world that's ever has lived is Johnny Maestro.
Oh, yeah.
And he's from Manhattan with the Crest. So if we can get to that.
Okay, go ahead. Take it away.
I won a contest with this when I had a cake, and I said, "How many candles on this cake?" And everybody got it wrong. Guess what I said? 16 candles.
Okay. What a segue.
What a segue. Happy birthday, baby. I love you so. 16 candles make a lovely sight, but not as bright as your eyes tonight. Brooklyn.
I don't know how you hit those
Props to
notes.
Manhattan. Thank you, Ed.
Those notes are great. I'm going to have you sing one more, and while you're singing, I'm going to have John come on and sit on the set. Is that
one
okay?
more? Could I do a Brooklyn song?
You can do whatever you want, dear.
I want to do a Brooklyn song. I'm from Brooklyn. These guys are from Brooklyn, and they said that he told his teacher he wanted to sing. The guy said, "You can't sing. You got a voice like a girl." He said, "Oh, I'm going to try it anyway." And he went
Johnny
out,
Meister?
and 50-something years later, they're still selling out houses with this song. And the guy said, "You got to sing really well the words." So here we go. Men cry too, right?
What are you singing? What's the name?
Tears on my pillow.
Oh,
you know
yes,
this,
yes,
man.
of course I do.
Oh, come on, everybody.
Come on, you gotta sing.
Here we go. You don't remember me, but I remember you. 'Twas not so long ago. You broke my heart into tears on my pillow, pain in my heart caused by you. If we could start anew, I wouldn't hesitate. I'd gladly take you back and take the hand of fate. Tears on my pillow, pain in my heart caused by you. This is the fact. Love is not a gadget. Love is not a toy. When you find the one you love, she'll fill your heart with joy. If we could start anew, I wouldn't hesitate. I'd gladly take you back and tempt the hand of fate. Tears on my pillow, pain in my heart caused by you. And now we go. Oh, and that's how we do it in Brooklyn.
Thanks so much, Don. Always good to see you, sweetie. And I'm going right over here to John, from Don to John. And John is a chiropractor, and for his first number, he's going to be singing. Oh, wait a minute.
You would not have an audience ever if I sang.
But you do a lot of good things besides singing, I'm sure, somewhere along the lines. But
In the
anyway,
shower every other
In the
day.
shower every day. We're going to be talking about Ferguson Chiropractics. We don't endorse any company because we're a non-commercial station, but you have such great information to bring to the audience, especially the back to school. So I'm going to let you kind of lead us into what your topic is today.
Sure. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was, summertime is a great time. Kids need a break. They need to get out, move. What I've seen in practice, because I take care of a lot of kids, is that as we get closer to that back to school time, parents will tell me they get stressed out, the kids are getting stressed out about the back to school routines, and many times it's a month or two into school before they even decide what should we do, because our kids are starting now and they're overstressed, they're not learning, they're not performing the way that the parents would like in many cases. So we want to encourage parents to encourage their kids to take the time to enjoy summer, but start their back to school routines in a good, healthy way that's going to encourage proper learning, development, and as a pediatric chiropractor, to make sure that the nerve system is prepared and ready.
Do the kids stress themselves out during the summer? Because sports, the shoulder goes and all the sports stuff, that doesn't I mean, that must be part of the problem too. And then, of course, going back to school, carrying the backpacks and things, and
Yes, schedules can be very busy.
the whole physical part of it, physicality.
Yeah, and we encourage kids to play, to move, to engage in sports. Movement is life. If you're
Gotta
moving,
keep moving, right?
If you're moving, you're learning, you're alive.
You're not an easy target either.
No, exactly. So it can be stressful because this day and age, there's schedules, and we're tied to schedules, and we run from here to there. There's soccer practice. We got to get home. We got to do dinner. During the school year, it's homework. It's this. It's that. We don't have enough family time.
You're right.
And
Set those gadgets down.
yeah, it's a good segue here of many kids these days are relying on technology and electronics, and more studies are showing that the more sedentary we become, especially children, the less our bodies and our brains and nerve systems are growing and developing. You add on top of that, schools are more reliant on technology.
Yeah.
So we have patients that come in and they say, hey, before I get my adjustment, before we start, I'm going to go work on my homework, and the rest of the family might be getting adjusted. And I see kids sitting in our chairs and on the couches, and they're slumped over, they're using their iPads.
Yeah, I've heard that one of the problems is the positioning of the neck with all these phones and iPads. And if you look, you're walking down the street, you see these kids, they're not even looking to see if a car's coming.
It's dangerous for one. Just a couple of years ago, I was driving down the street and I saw someone coming towards me, and it looked like a person without a head. And I realized their head was so far down while they were looking at their phone. I'm saying to myself, as a chiropractor, that made my neck and my upper back hurt. But what studies are showing is that the more that the head is forward, the more you're stressing the brainstem, which is a relay center for sensory motor development learning. In using the electronics, you're getting a visual and auditory bombardment. So stress centers of your brain are activating, and the parts for learning are shutting down. So they've actually,
that's interesting.
Yeah, and they're calling it digital dementia. So they're seeing signs of early dementia in children with a heavy reliance on technology, all audio-visual stimulation, and no exploring of the world around. Add on top of that, that forward head posture that puts the nerve system into a very stressful state.
You said something that you really kind of hit a nerve with me, because I've seen people that they're out driving with their small kids in their car seats. Thank goodness they're in the car seats. But they're kids like 2 years old, and they're sitting there looking at some plaything, whatever it is.
Yeah.
When they're not looking outside to see the cows, or the clouds, or anything that's out there, you're no longer part of your surroundings when you do that.
Right, and children need several things. They need love and connection. They need physical touch. They need to be exposed to nature and exploring. Yes, technology is great because we can go to parts of the world or learn things that maybe decades ago we couldn't because electronics has brought that to us. But there's an over-reliance on it, I feel, and there isn't enough exploring in what's going on. I know there's a segment about the library and reading. Kids don't read as much these days, and there's parts of development that aren't occurring because they're not scanning a page. They're looking at a screen that is just changing.
Yeah.
And the world doesn't work like that.
No, and I don't know when you read. I mean, when I read, sometimes I go back.
Sure.
To say, oh, wait a minute, what was that character? Oh, okay, now I understand. Or if it's a technical book, I have to be able to go back. I don't want to do this.
Exactly.
I want to go, oh, it's on that page. And I have the ability to have kind of a photographic memory, so I can kind of look at a page and remember what's on that page. Right. If it's scrolling, I'll never remember what's on that page. So
we can learn how to use that technology, but just the way that we're neurologically designed, how our eyes are designed to move, it's left and right, up and down, not just constant scrolling. Trying to keep track.
Now you're having an event coming up, so let's talk about that in case people would like to stop by and find out more about how they can prepare for back to school.
Yeah, we call it our Pathways Connect group. It's a holistic group. It's led by community members. So the community members that come, they network, they talk about what they do for themselves, for their families, to be better informed about raising healthy kids, connecting as a community, and sharing ideas. And we're going to do a topic on back to school. So it's proactively getting yourselves, your family ready so that there's a smooth transition coming into the school year. and it's not parents, kids, teachers overstressed, as we make that transition.
I think they were showing some of the photographs of your facility. I think they showed that while we were talking here. Just shows the amount of equipment that is available to you to help your patients as well. If they want to learn more about this, I would assume they can go to forlifetimewellness.com.
Yes.
That's your website.
Right.
And they'll find out what other workshops. Do you have these workshops? The one that you're having is on the 19th of July.
Correct.
And that's perfect timing for beginning and kind of midsummer and into to the other. So if you want to find out more about that, I'm sure that John would be happy to talk to you about his program and also to connect with community members. He's located in Clifton Park if you'd like to check that out with him. And John, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show,
Thanks so much
even
for
if you
having me.
didn't sing.
No. We'll keep it to what I know best.
Okay, and you
Thanks
know
so
this
much.
very well.
Thanks.
Thank you, John.
Have a
We're
great
going to
day.
take a quick break, and we'll be looking at the Fort Ticonderoga, and when we come back, we are going to be learning about the Iroquois Museum. You won't be disappointed. Stay tuned.
Yes, hi.
Hi, I'm Beth Hill, the Executive Director of Fort Ticonderoga, and I want to welcome you here to Fort Ticonderoga and the beautiful King's Garden, which celebrates the preservation story in vibrant, brilliant colors.
Peeking through there, we've seen a lot of the garden.
And we're getting ready for our garden party fundraiser, which helps support the mission of our site to preserve and interpret Fort Ticonderoga story and ensure that present and future generations learn from the struggles, sacrifices, and victories that shaped the nations of North America and changed world history. So it's a big mission, and we're delighted to have everybody's support, and very happy to have you here with us today.
And this is Art in Bloom,
Art
right?
in Bloom, our garden party. Art in Bloom, we do this every year in July. And so you can come visit us from the beginning of June, of course, this year until October 10th is when the King's Garden will be open. The fort's open May 20th until October 20th. And every year we have this wonderful garden party. And this year we've got a great clam bake fundraiser as well on July 23rd. So our website is fortticonderoga.org to find more information.
Good for you. Now listen, if you're watching this, 2 hours north of the Capital Region.
And here we are back again. I need a video for the Iroquois Museum. That's what I need to show a break here to talk about what you guys do. Oh my goodness. This is a marvelous museum located in Hell's Cave. It's not very far from the Capital Region. It's an easy drive, and it's just a delightful place to spend a day almost. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about it, Carla.
Well, the museum really from here is probably 40 minutes, straight out 88. It's very straightforward. It's a beautiful rural area. The museum has been here 36 years.
I know, I remember when it first came up, yeah.
Yeah, so we've been here a long time. And so we feature, there's 2 floors. The main floor gallery has changing exhibits, primarily focused on contemporary expressions. The other side is our archaeology and historical materials, and there downstairs is our family area, our interactive area.
I love that area.
It has a turtle pond, and we're always changing that up to try to have children's activities that relate to or interpret, translate some of the concepts that we're addressing on the first floor that are more geared towards adults. So it's actually having the same message, but in different, getting them across to different audiences in 2 different ways.
And it's family friendly. I mean,
we're very family friendly, yes.
And especially when you have your outdoor activities. Oh my gosh, the drumming circles and all the wonderful activities that you have. And you're part of putting this all together as well, right?
Yeah, I'm the marketing and advertising director there, so I do a lot of graphic design work and public outreach. But yeah, we have so many wonderful summer events. One thing that I'm personally really excited about is we're having an artist in residency. We have a Mohawk artist, Jay Havens, who's coming from Vancouver, and he's painting a huge mural in our children's museum. It's going to be 10 feet tall by 40 feet wide.
Oh my gosh, 40
yeah.
feet wide.
And what's really cool about the project is he's actually inviting the public to help him paint this mural. So
is it paint by number? No.
Well, that's actually kind of how he does it. So first he'll start.
So they know what.
Yeah. So he starts out with this like really beautiful line work, and then so he can kind of direct people to help paint these different segments.
That's wonderful.
So yeah, it's going to be a really great project, and he'll be starting this project the last week of July, and then it'll be going for 5 weeks, and then at our festival that we do every year, Labor Day weekend, he'll be revealing the final mural to the public.
Oh, this is wonderful. And then it'll be a permanent display for
It's going to be a permanent part of our museum. We're really excited about it.
This is wonderful, yeah. What I'm really fascinated with is your exhibit, Walking on Steel. So let's talk about that, because, you know, as a young kid, you know, my mother, we would always say, you know, the Native Americans were really, you know, really did a lot of the steel work. And I thought, well, that's interesting. But now you've put it all together.
Yeah, this is, we've been wanting to do this exhibition for a long time. And it has been done. This subject has been addressed by other museums, including the Smithsonian. But we finally got.
There's your long.
There's our building. We decided to do it. It is such a fantastic story. It has all the elements of a great story. It has danger and risk.
And what is this photo? I'm sorry, while the photo is up, let's touch.
We're basically looking at, it's a 130-year-old tradition of working the iron and working the steel, which started in the community of Ganawage, which is a Mohawk community just outside of Montreal. And so that's one of the earliest pictures of Mohawk ironworkers. And they were drawn to the work. They were very good at it right from the very beginning. And by 1915, 90% of the men of working age from this Mohawk community were employed in the high steel industry.
Wow.
Despite the risks, despite the tragedies, they were still drawn to this work. It is kind of a rite of passage in many ways. And still is, where tool belts and helmets are handed down from generation to generation.
And we have photos of that as well, of the steel workers working there.
Yep.
Yeah. Iron workers, I guess we should say.
Well, it was iron in the beginning, and then when steel came in, of course, in the building boom. So they were basically, when you're looking at the cityscapes, the skylines of many of our major cities, especially New York, of course, they were instrumental in building the Triborough Bridge, Verrazano, you can tell I'm not a native New Yorker, Verrazano Narrows Bridge, the Empire State Building, the Chrysler Building, the Twin Towers, every one of those, the UN. And so when they look at those buildings, that is part of their heritage, and so there is great pride in that. There are still ironworkers who we will have as guests, and the communities celebrate this heritage through their art, through the artwork, which is a big part of our exhibition. Work both by ironworkers themselves. We have the most incredible beaded spud wrenches. Spud wrenches are a tool that's used to connect.
I never heard that.
Oh, it's the ironworking tool, and they're very heavy, and so we have some beaded. They're totally beaded. They're really fantastic. We have lots of paintings. We have sculpture. That is basically honoring this tradition and celebrating it for all that it is.
Now, when you mentioned the Mohawks, I didn't realize they were all up into Canada as well. But, I mean, that's how much I don't know that I have to learn from you.
Well, the two communities that really were involved heavily in the ironworking industry were Akwesasne and Ganawage, both of which are Mohawk communities. And the reason that worked so well was because it was directly north of New York City.
Right.
In the earliest days, there wasn't a throughway. So commuting was a 12-and-a-half-hour drive one way on Friday night. You came home on Friday night and went back on Sunday night. So men were separated from their families for the entire week, and then try to catch up and be a dad on the weekend and a husband. Eventually, in the 1920s and 30s and through that period, an entire Mohawk community developed in Brooklyn. There were over 500 Mohawks, including the families, living
moved down there
in Brooklyn in
I had no idea.
10 square block radius. So it was called Little Ganawage, or downtown Ganawage. And that eliminated that need to have to keep going back and forth, because you had the elements of your community right there where you spoke, people spoke the language, you had your family and your kids around. And so it was a very large community at one point.
I know that you have other programs going on in the summer. You have storytelling, You have, you're going to have the drummers there, and you have music and.
Yep. And we also have 2 ironworking demo days. We have 2 ironworkers coming. Both are, one individual, Barry Printup, has been an ironworker for 26 years. He's done almost every job in the profession. We have another individual who's been retired after 40 years, and they will be setting up columns to climb, girders to try walking on.
How cool.
They want to give they're going to both demonstrate some of their skills, and they're going to give the public and the kids a chance to have a little bit of the flavor of what it's like to walk on these girders 10 inches
Walking
wide,
on steel,
200
right.
some feet above the ground, wearing 50 or 60 pounds of tool belt on your hips.
And they've got to stay safe as well. And I don't know that they have a lot of tethers on them when they do that. We're speaking now with Colette Lemon. She is the director of the Iroquois Museum.
No way.
Sorry, not the director. You're the curator of exhibitions. I'm sorry. I know you're not the director.
I don't want the hard
No,
stuff.
I know who is. I'm sorry, and I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, so scratch that. So anyway, no, she's the curator of exhibitions. That's why she knows so much about it. And I know I've been in contact with the director, and she said, no, I'm not coming. We're going to have Colette come. And then Alicia Burnett, she also identified herself as the Director of Marketing and Community Relations. I would like to encourage you all to go over there, I guess you'd say, that way. You're going to go west and check out the museum there. It's a wonderful place. It's a great place to bring your kids.
Thank you.
And it brings a flavor of the heritage of our area. Because that's really, they were there before any of us, so
Very true.
we need to celebrate that and celebrate their closeness with the land and with nature and with the community. Yeah, did we cover all of that?
I think so. We can't wait to see you.
I can't wait to be there. I'm going to come down and come to some of these events here. So check out the Iroquois Museum if you're looking for something to do this summer. This is a place to go, and it's not very far, and your kids will love it, believe me. Take a look at their website, find out what activities are coming up. They're open, you're open every day, right, aren't you, pretty much?
Mondays, we're closed
You're
on
closed on Mondays,
But
okay.
every other day we're open 10 to 5, and then
Sundays, 12 to
12 to 5.
12 to 5. So it's a great afternoon there to come, bring a picnic. You
Sure.
can sit and enjoy it. And
Take a walk on our nature trails.
exactly, there's lots of good things to do. I'm Ann Pearl. You're watching Schenectady Today in and around the Capital Region. When we come back, we're going to go over to the library and find out what they're up to. You know there's always something good going on there. Stay tuned.
George, it's worth it. It's fabulous.
Absolutely. Come
Thank
see us.
And here we are back again, and in one of my favorite haunts, I should say, because I love the library. I'm there at least 2 or 3 times a week. I love going through the stacks. Please don't get rid of the stacks. I mean, you know, some libraries are getting rid of them, and it's like, no, I want to touch those books. I want to look at them.
Some are bringing them back too.
Yeah, good. And I noticed that you moved all your magazines, and you did a lot of changes over there, which kind of like threw me off kilter for a minute, but I'm very adaptable. So anyway, so we're going to be talking about 2 topics today. First, we're going to start with their reading program. Can you believe this? I mean, oh my goodness, I can't believe the number of events that they have coming up. So we're going to, huh?
We didn't get a shot.
Oh, I know, but I think I have a photo of it.
Okay.
I have a photo, that's why I didn't. I'm sorry, they didn't know. But anyways, I put it in there. So we do have a great lineup, and we're going to talk about first, and then we're going to segue into their Comic Con, which is their 3rd annual one, and we're going to hear from Shane Moore. He is on the panel here, and he's an artist. So we're going to got lots of stuff to cover for this. So I'm really excited about it. So we're going to first of all talk about the reading program. See, there it is. I knew I had it.
Thank you.
Just to show the amount of programming that you have there. So let's talk a little bit about the programming.
All
To
right.
start.
Well, first off, Anne, thank you so much for having us on your show. This has been so interesting to listen to all the guests. What a service you've done for the community.
Thank
so
you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Come to our 1,000th show.
Congratulations. Yeah. We do a lot of programming throughout the year, but we focus a lot on our summer events. So I'm going to try and be organized because there's a lot to share, as you
Okay.
can see from the schedule. We spend a lot of money, have a lot of resources. Basically, there are 2 facets of our summer program. We incentivize reading over the summer. We want to encourage it.
Yep.
Like the pediatric chiropractor John was speaking of, it's so important to encourage kids to read and adults also. So we have
Amen.
prizes for pre-readers, for young children, the very youngest children who are just being read to, for school-age children, for teens, and for adults. Prizes for all. What's different this year is that people can sign up the traditional way of having a paper log and keeping
Sure,
track of their
sure.
books that way, or they can keep a digital log
Okay.
through our library website.
Oh,
we
through
have
your own website.
Yes, we are using a service that's called Beanstack, and it's a digital log. It will entitle you to the same prizes, access to the same prizes, but it's just a way to keep track online versus the old-fashioned paper way.
Well, the idea is to get to read more.
Yes,
That's the
exactly.
important thing.
That is it.
And you certainly have a plethora of books
Yes.
available. And I tend to like some of the audiobooks, mainly because I drive a lot, so I've always got a book going, And somebody says, how can you listen to a book and drive at the same time? And I go, I don't know. I don't use my ears a whole lot on the steering wheel, so I think I can listen. But it allows me to augment my paper reading as well. And I read probably 2 or 3 books a week, so I love to read. Yeah.
And listening counts as reading as well.
Yeah.
You can count those books as well towards your prizes. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to take a prize from somebody else. We want to encourage them to read. So you have the reading program,
Yes.
and you also have you're giving prizes away. I saw a couple of baskets. I put the photos together when I did my PowerPoint there.
Exactly.
And so what else is going on besides the?
So the other big push that we have are for our events and classes all summer long. You saw the July schedule. There also is something every day.
I know you do.
In July
I
and
can't-
August.
When Doug
Yeah.
Bixler sends me stuff, it's like, oh my God, how do they do all of this?
We have classes we have educational classes, our earliest programs for the pre-readers. It's a wonderful curriculum that's really designed to set up kids to be successful in school. Singing, playing, reading aloud, hearing rhymes, finger plays. Those are all pre-literacy
It's
skills.
educational.
It is
Definitely-
educational.
But it's educational in the sense that they don't even think about it being educational.
Yes.
They're just learning,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly.
So-
Exactly.
So we've got that going on
Yes.
with your programs, with your books and prizes, and we have Comic Con coming up
Mm-hmm.
as well. And Comic Con, we got an artist here, so let's talk to him about his artwork. What's going on?
Hi.
How did you get started? Shane Moore.
Hi. How did I get started in art?
Yeah,
or
really, that's my
comics?
question. Yeah.
Well,
Because I always like to know how people get started.
I always loved drawing, and cartoons. I think I was about 12 or 13 when I saw the first Batman movie. That really kind of changed things for me, and I knew that like comics, that's how I wanted to spend my life. You know, I was dedicated from that point on. So.
Yeah, you know, I always read the comic pages in the newspaper, you know, so I haven't given them up.
Yeah, I'm a fan of those as well.
Yeah, really.
It's interesting you mentioned that because at Comic-Con we actually have a group called Golden Bell Entertainment, and they put out board games, animation, of course comic books, but one of the things that they're now syndicating is the Sunday comics. So they have brought back original tabloid-sized, full-color Sunday comics that they're putting out. With some new comics, some syndicated ones like Garfield in them, but they're bringing all that back to reintroduce to kids now. Yeah.
So and it's a way, you know, when we talk about encouraging kids to read, you know, sometimes they can start with something like this because it's got the not pictures, graphics with it, and it allows them to look at something. And as you look at most children's books, you need a visual for kids to look at when they hear the words.
Absolutely, and it gives confidence to children whose reading levels may be below other kids in their classroom. They're able to read faster, they're able to use context clues that are in the panels to be able to really decipher what's going on, learning new vocabulary words. So there's a lot of data out there really that shows that comic books are a great way to read, especially like we're saying for young readers.
And you know, as Dr. John was talking earlier, it's the idea of them always looking at a gadget is not the best way to learn, get their brains to kind of move. You know, they've got to make these connections, and you don't connect it when you just kind of are being fed everything rather than working to read the material. When you do your graphics, I haven't looked at what you have in there. I don't know what it looks like. Are there is there like the balloons over them and they talk?
Yeah, no.
Oh,
it's
okay,
like
I mean, I'm just checking.
Traditional comic book. I guess I can open it.
Yeah, no, that's all right. That's all right. I don't mean for you to open it. I just was curious as to what, you know, with
these books. I've done some work for the library on a character, like a mascot. But this is
you have a mascot, right?
Yeah, this is the actual book that I self-published. It's called The Omens.
Okay. Oh, and see, so it tells a story. Yeah,
yeah.
just like the ones that I remember as a kid.
Yeah. No. It's
Superman and all the rest.
Still the same.
Batman, Marvel, all those.
Yeah, I love all those.
The heroes, which of course you're doing heroes too at the Comic-Con, right?
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about that.
So we do have, in addition to featuring really wonderful artists, writers, and also illustrators, we have vendors that are selling old comic books, toys, collectibles, crafts, and then we have a whole day slated of exciting programming, whether you want to learn how to animate your own comics, turn them into an animation, to watching professional cartoonists play really hilarious, silly games.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Always a blast.
That's from 10 to 4, so 10 to 4. So
10 to 4 throughout the day.
6 hours.
You can get the full schedule on our website. But we also, at the end of the day, have our cosplay contest, which is awesome because we have, usually it's around 100 participants.
Really? Oh my gosh.
So throughout the day, the library is not really the library for the day. It's loud, people are eating, people on their phones. And
it's a community.
The best part though is that it's bursting with this creative energy of people who have made the most amazing costumes. So we have kids categories and a teen and adult, so we've seen a lot of families coming in costumes, so we encourage that. And I suspect we will see a lot of Wonder Women this year.
Yeah, well, you know, with the movie and everything, and I mean, it's amazing. Wonder Woman, I think that's like an anniversary or something of it, I'm not sure.
75th.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that's why it was the big thing here.
And Shane's is the artist one of our featured artists that we will have at Comic-Con this year, who's very local to Schenectady area.
Shane, will you be kind of encouraging kids to draw, or will you kind of?
Every day.
Yes.
Yeah. If any kids are watching this, if you want to bring your drawings, I would love to look at them, talk about art, bring a blank sketchbook, we'll draw something together. One of the good things about this convention is very interactive, and people are very because it's a free event, people are very gracious. Like they're interested in seeing what we're doing. It kind of takes the business part of a Comic-Con, which comic conventions have become a very big business.
Oh, I know. I mean, when you look at Los Angeles and then the big cities that do it, they said thousands and thousands of people come.
Yeah, those are great, but I feel like Leah's put together something that's a little different.
Well, and I like the idea that it's not huge, number one, that it does kind of take over the library.
Yeah.
A library is like, see, I love, the old cartoon, shh, you're in the library. It's like, this is changing. People are learning that the library is a community.
Yeah.
And I think what you do with the movies, with discussions, your books, your reels on tape, or reels, noon reels, whatever the title is. I'm sorry, I know what it is. I can't see it, right. And then your book sandwiched in, and you bring in speakers. I mean, it's an amazing place to be. It is a community. If you don't have a community anywhere, come to the library because you will build a community
Absolutely.
here. You'll be part of it.
That's a great thing to touch on because we've noticed that. There's an Albany Comic-Con, there's a great comic book store, Electric City Comics here in Schenectady, who will be at our convention selling. But we've been told time and time again, this is why we're doing it the third year in a row, that people they're like, we found a community here we didn't know was here. And it's allowing teenagers, adults, families, kids, young readers that are just starting to read comics to really see that there's other people out there and to meet the people who are creating these wonderful things.
It's like, when kids don't know where milk comes from, except the story that comes from a cow. Art comes from a person, right?
Absolutely.
And they need to meet that artist to find out, oh my goodness.
And it's very inspiring, for young artists to be able to make that connection.
I do want to get back to the literacy, just to mention that it's at all the libraries, right? Not just one. But the Comic-Con is at the main
Central,
library, just so they know that. So please, the idea of, what did you bring here? You got books?
Oh, yeah, we brought some stuff to share. So I brought...
Magna Claus? The Bride of Kringle? The Blade of Kringle? Oh my goodness.
So we just brought a sampling of some of the artists that are going to be at Comic-Con this year. Greg Schiegel, who's been there a few years, he does this great character Pix. His new Pix is coming, actually just came out this past spring. Tom Eaton is from Brooklyn, New York. He's an animator as well. Bug Zapper. Crispin Wood is from Massachusetts, and he does this really funny web comic called Small Blue Yonder. And that's something we're seeing a lot too, is that similar with authors, that you can now publish this stuff for free online. And then you're seeing a lot of these artists that are then binding these and selling them. But web comics, we include those too.
Yeah, well, why not? I mean, it's just another form. But, and I see these are really kind of cool. I mean, I expected this to be like a book, but I mean, it is a book. What am I saying? But it's a graphic novel.
So this is kind of where we make that sort of distinction of a graphic novel is usually a full story bound, whereas we've got some comics up here which come out. So once this is put into a hardcover, that'll be a graphic novel.
Yeah, exactly. So that could happen. You never know. The exciting thing, I mean, growing up, I remember always looking at those classic, do they even make them anymore? The classic comics, which would take like Jane Eyre, and it would.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and, I mean, they would do the classic stories, but.
Oh, those are still big. Yeah, we get kids coming in last minute at the library, getting those out for reports.
I know. I got to do a book report. Let me get in front of these classic ones.
It's like the modern Cliff Notes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I want to thank you all for being here. It's been such a pleasure to see you all.
Thank you very much.
For me personally, to help support and to promote what's going on in our community. I feel the library is a central, integral part of Schenectady and every community, not just Schenectady, but wherever you live. Go to the library. And although some libraries are better than others, and we have the best.
And we wouldn't be what we are without the Friends of the Library.
I was just going to say that.
They're wonderful.
If it wasn't for the Friends
supportive.
of the Library, you would not have a lot of these programs.
Exactly.
So, anyways, I'm being a little selfish when I say they're the best, but I love them. I remember them when they were. The children's room was over at Union College in that building, and I got in the basement, and I would go in there and look at those stacks. My mother brought me to the library every week, so God bless her. She made my love for books.
She made you a reader.
And it keeps going.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it
So
does.
thank you all for being here. And now we're going to go to our next guest. We're talking about birds, 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 and more. So stay tuned. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, I have a bird feeder. I put bird seed in it, but somebody tell me don't put bird seed in the summer, because if you put bird seed in the summer, they won't eat the other stuff. Is that good or bad?
Not true.
Oh, okay, that's not true.
Yeah,
Good.
feed the birds. Don't worry about
So
it.
I'm going to put the bird seed out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the story is this: you're only giving them a little bit of a treat, an easy, cheap treat for them. Meanwhile, they're out there finding natural food.
Okay.
So it's not an issue of you're denying them good nutrition. What you're doing is supplementing
You're
their
supplementing.
diet.
Okay, good. So I'm still doing it. So
And what
it's
you're
okay.
doing, and it's really all about the person who's putting the bird seed out there.
Yeah, I know. It makes me
brings
feel
the birds,
good, right?
brings the birds in where it's easy to see. But that said, this is a time to actually get out there and see the birds. Bring the family out. This is an important period of time for the birds. They're raising their young. This is a critical time. This is a time when they regenerate their population. The generations need to continue. And so they have baby birds in the nest that are now just getting out,
They're
testing their
fledglings?
wings.
Is that what they call them? Fledglings?
Fledglings are the term for the baby birds as they're leaving the
As they're
nest,
leaving,
right?
okay.
Very vulnerable period for them. They are subject to all sorts of predation and hazards and difficulties in finding food and learning how to find food. So the important thing is right now is to get out there, to enjoy, to watch, to observe.
I love watching
Take
the
the
birds,
kids
yeah.
out there. Let the get a decent identification guide, a book that can help you tell the robin from the crow, and that's the simple stuff as well as the more challenging aspects. But it's a good time to get the kids out there, out of school. You have lots of good areas to visit, from Central Park in Schenectady to Collins Lake in over there in Scotia. Five Rivers Environmental Education Center in Delmar. Lots of in this immediate area. There's so many
You have
opportunities.
the raptors up at the important bird.
In Washington
yeah,
County,
yeah.
New York. That's mainly a winter visiting area
winter,
where the hawks and the owls come down to spend the winter, and also down in Greene County, New York, where we have the grasslands in Greene County. But right now is when the baby birds are leaving the nest. Mom and Pop are feeding the baby birds, and you could go out there and watch what's going on.
And it's always fun when they form a nest, somewhere around your property, in your porch or something.
Lucky if they do.
Yeah, and we watch the eggs come, the little eggs and stuff. Oh my God, that was just and then they were gone one day.
Right, they get up and go. Most of the birds, once they're done nesting, they're gone. The swallows that were out in the barn, or the robin that was in the shrub out in the front of the house, or the finches that were nesting in the flower pot on the porch, they're gone. They raise their babies, the babies go, they don't stick around, and some of them are actually leaving the area and heading back to the tropics where they'll spend the winter.
They're leaving the summer and going to, okay.
They're here, they're just fair weather friends.
They're fair weather friends. When we feed the birds and we encourage them, and at least I try to encourage them. One of the questions that always seems to come up is, like, if you find a baby bird on the ground, what do you do? Do you take
Nothing.
it?
Do nothing. For the most part, that baby bird is left in nest, is capable of short hop flights from the ground to a shrub or what have you. Mom and Pop are nearby. They're taking care of them. And the chances are your intervention will cause no good.
Because they say you get the smell, the human
Has nothing
smell?
to do with it.
Nothing
Birds
to do-
don't
okay.
smell. And
They
if you
don't
do
smell.
have to handle a bird, Mom and Pop don't know that. They will come right back and take care of the little guy.
Okay.
But don't do anything if there's no immediate harm. Of course, if it's on the yellow stripe on the highway and it's safe
You
for
could
you
put
to
it to
do
the
some
side,
rescue,
yeah.
pick it up and move it or shoo it aside. But for the most part, so many birds leave the nest before they're capable of sustained flight. Not a problem. Happens all the time. Leave them alone. The other thing is that this is when they're very vulnerable to predation, and especially by cats.
Cats.
I want to say, if you have a cat,
Cat should be inside.
if your cat is outside, it's killing birds, no question about it. Oh, my tabby doesn't hurt the birds, he just looks at them. No, he's just reading the menu.
Only if he's looking out the window, right?
If they're looking out the window, that's terrific. I love cats, but I think cats are wonderful companions, but they belong indoors, not out there eating our birds.
Yeah.
And it's a very serious problem. And a lot of people just are in denial of that situation.
Well,
They
I
just
know
don't get it.
With the Animal Protective Foundation, when they're on the show, they always encourage people, if you have a cat, it should be inside.
It should definitely be inside. Not only for the sake of the birds that they
Coyotes,
are
we got
taking,
coyotes.
it's for the health and safety of the cat.
Yeah.
Many cats outside are vulnerable to predation by coyotes, by roaming dogs, and also by other stray cats. Cats are very intolerant of intrusion.
Territory, yeah.
They spread disease. So again, if you love your cat and you love the birds, keep them apart.
Yeah.
Let everybody watch the birds. They let the cat watch the birds from inside. But in the meantime, go outside. Take the kids, get a good book, enjoy the outdoors, and learn about the birds because, number one, it's enjoyable. It's a nice family activity. It's challenging. There's a good learning opportunity. It can be competitive. If you have siblings, you can have them, create their own list of birds seen, and you can create a cumulative growing list. And also, it's an exercise. It's a chance to get away from the television or the video games.
And get together as a family and do something.
Walk and talk and enjoy together.
I'm
Go
going-
to some of those many nature areas
I'm
that we
going to
have.
just quickly say who's coming on the show next week, and then we'll finish with our
Great,
interview
great.
because I like to get this in. We have Nick Bazant's coming on. He's a performer. You're going to love him. He's a guitar. He sings. Going to be great. We're going to have the Dudley Observatory on. We're going to be talking about a big event coming up where we're going to talk about mad science. Mad science. They're going to be doing demonstrations here on our set. And then we'll be talking about Music Haven and the summer events coming up with Mona Golub. Getting back to birds.
Yes.
So we encourage birds. I have a pair of binoculars in my kitchen, and because I have a bay window, so I can look out into my grassland area and my wetlands. I get a lot of hawks. I love to watch the hawks. They are just so interesting because they are still, and yet you can just, bam, they know what they're going for.
Well, that's how they earn a living.
Yeah.
The hawks have to eat too,
Yeah.
and they have babies too, so they
Yeah.
need to get out. But usually, the hawks that we have around here are mainly interested in field mice,
Yeah,
meadow
that's it, yeah.
voles, and some of them are after the snakes, and some of them, some of the hawks will actually chase after birds. It's what they do.
I have
It's
seen
a natural
it. Yeah,
process.
I've seen that, but
Well,
not often.
it's a
Usually
natural process.
They're going to the ground. They're looking at some movement on the ground.
Little
usually.
things on
Yeah.
the ground, right?
We have one of the things I notice is if I'm out walking, I noticed where the red-winged blackbirds are because they nest on the ground. I was not aware of that.
No,
They don't?
they nest in the cattails.
Because I have a lot of cattails.
Right, they're in the cattails or grasses. The birds that nest on the ground are things like the sandpiper, the killdeer, and the spotted sandpiper and the like. And some of the sparrows nest on the ground. Which, getting back to the cats, is where they are vulnerable to predation.
Yeah.
Once again, cats indoors, birds outdoors. It's a good life.
You got the message. Cats indoors, birds outdoors. Check them out, watch them, learn about them, get a book, and read about them and learn about.
Get out there and enjoy
I love
them.
birds.
Yes.
Birds are so neat. So thank you for watching Schenectady today. We're talking with Richard Guthrie. Thank you so much. watch them or listen to them on WAMC.
WAMC or the Times Union, where I do a blog.
You blog there. I
have a nice blog that I write about the birds in the timesunion.com.
Good. We got that plug in. So, and we're almost out of time, but we're doing good. I thanks so much for coming. It's always a pleasure to have you on, and I do listen to you on WAMC.
Well, I try to too.
Yeah. You're on every